Welcome back to Just Scrap Radio on bjpen.com. I'm your host, Cole Shelton. Episode 87 ahead of UFC London. We got a good lineup for you. First up, we're going to be joined by Volkan Oezdemir to preview his fight against Paul Craig. This is obviously a very fun fight on the main card for a reason. This one probably not hitting the scorecards. Craig obviously could take a lot of damage and pulls off these miraculous submissions. Volkan, obviously a ton of power. A big change he made for this one is he's in Sweden. He was training with Hamza Chimaev and all them at All Stars and like Alexander Gustafsson. So he said that was obviously a very good look for him. And obviously, 2-fight losing streak. He knows the back's against the wall and he thinks he will come out here and have a big win and a big knockout to really cement himself as a legit contender still. We're then going to be joined by one of the hottest prospects in the sport and Muhammad Mokaev, who's got a big fight against Charles Johnson here. Obviously, Muhammad coming off that debut, the under a minute win over Cody Durden, where he had the flying knee, dropped him, then hops on the choke. He's super impressive, has all the amateur experience in IMMAF, where he went 22 or 23-0. He's now fighting Charles Johnson, the former LFA flyweight champion, who's making his UFC debut. This is a really fun fight and a really good fight to kind of prove who's that legit flyweight prospect and who's probably going to get a top 10, top 15 opponent next time out. We're then going to be joined by Jonathan Pearce to preview his fight against Makwan Amirkhani. Jonathan's going across the pond to fight the fan favorite in Amirkhani, who's from Finland. Obviously, he has a big name value. Jonathan thinks this is if he can go out there, finish Amirkhani, this is the fight that gets him that top 15 guy at featherweight. We're then going to be joined by Charles Rosa, who's taking a short notice fight against Nathaniel Wood. This is nothing new for Charles Rosa. Took his last fight on 2 or 3 days' notice against TJ Brown. Obviously, didn't go his way. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. But he doesn't think his job's not really on the line. He knows he's a company guy. He takes these short notice fights. He's fighting a Brit in England, so he's obviously expecting the crowd to be against him. But he says that's where he thrives, and he's really looking forward to that. And then we close things out talking to my fellow Canadian, Kyle Nelson, to preview his fight against Jai Herbert. Obviously, Kyle hasn't fought in a while again when he got knocked up by Billy Quarantillo in 2020. In September 2020. Since then, he's kind of been working to move up to lightweight. He says he thought the reason why he was getting knocked out, why he was fading so bad in fights, was because of the cardio and the weight cutting issues and how much weight he was cutting. He thinks he's gonna be a lot better at lightweight, and he thinks he can really connect on Jai Herbert and knock him out after he's coming back pretty soon after getting viciously KO'd by Ilya Topuria last March. So be sure to share the show, subscribe, and tune in next week for another episode of Just Scrap Radio.
All right, we're joined by UFC light heavyweight Volkan Oezdemir, who's back in action here. Volkan, how's it going, man?
I'm doing great, thank you. What about you?
I'm doing well. Returning in London, how excited are you that you get to stay in Europe again? Now you're fighting, and especially a well-known guy in Paul Craig.
Yeah, it's a great show. London last time this year was great already. That's actually why they redid it. They're redoing it. So I'm really excited. The crowd is actually a real pleasure to be fighting in front of, and I think it's going to be definitely a great fight for me.
And your last fight, what do you take away from that one? A really entertaining, a pretty close fight against Ankalaev.
Yeah, I think it's a fight where I just didn't pull the trigger. Enough. For me personally, it was one of my worst fights because I just wasn't myself in it. So it is definitely something I've been working on right now. Be more decisive, being more offensive, and putting a term to the match. Making sure it ends in my favor and with a nice finish.
And with Paul Craig, is this a guy you kind of thought you'd get booked up against?
So yeah, I was saying the first guy I was thinking I'm gonna fight was Jamal Hill, because we got some exchange back and forth, on Twitter, So definitely was somebody on my mind, and but it made sense for the UFC because obviously it's a UK card, so so somebody from around was supposed to fight, and then obviously now with the my visa issues, it's also easier for me to fight in Europe as well.
And with Paul, what have you kind of made of his run? He's kind of surprised a lot of people by beating a lot of these guys he wasn't supposed to beat.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, because a lot of a lot of his fight he was actually losing, and just got the submission wins. Reversed the trends. So it's actually tricky, to fight him. I think it's like you should not get too excited to fight this guy, because then you're gonna commit a mistake, and this is what you're gonna pay for.
With Paul though, like we see him get hurt a lot, and people just kind of go to the ground with him. But does that give you confidence where you obviously have a ton of knockout power where you can hurt him, and then you just have to not be one of those guys that decide to fall him to the ground?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing also, and if you see that, you can also play it. You play weak. You can also play weeks just so you can get into your advantage, and this is also what's tricky. It's also a game. Show yourself strong or show yourself weak, and then to put it at your advantage. So you need obviously to watch out. Don't get too excited. Don't get overconfident for nothing, and just make sure you're always smart.
And then I saw you were in Sweden training with like Gustafsson and Shemaev and all them. Like, how did that kind of come together?
So I've been after my last fight with Ankalaev, I was in a locker room with Shimaev and his team, and we talked a little bit. And obviously the results ended in a loss for me. So I thought it was also time for me to change things around. So in January, I went to Sweden for the first time, and then I went back and forth for 3 times until now. I finally settled in. So now it's my official training place, and now I'm a full part member.
Oh, are you living in Sweden now, or like just like kind
Yeah,
of part time?
no, now I'm living here full time.
Oh wow, that's a big move then for
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. No, it's great, and I like it a lot. It's a good atmosphere. We have like high level partners, a lot of people in the gym, good mentality. It's grinding. We have tons of killers, and it's actually good.
Who are the main guys you work with? I assume like Gustafsson, Shemaev, like any other kind of guys people would know.
Yeah, there is a lot of people also coming back and forth, because from all around Europe, some people from around, some Lithuanian guys. Now I had Niglas that is fighting for Cage Warriors. I trained with him for like 3 weeks now. Lahunas also Lithuanian guy. He's a Bellator fighter. We have a bunch of 205ers or middleweight or heavy guys also that's coming, and staying, for small times, longer times, and it depends.
And with this one, like against Paul, like how do you kind of see it playing out? Because I think a lot of people think it's either obviously the way you guys fight, it's you either knock him out or he probably submits you if he wins.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a fight where the guy that brings his game, is gonna make it out. But it's not, like it's MMA. It's obviously different now. Look at what happened to Jiri's fight. Jiri Glover, like fucking Jiri submitting Glover, end of the fifth round. It was totally crazy. And it's all about grabbing the right opportunities, at the right time, making the right decision. So it could be anything. It could be I could be overzealous in the striking and also get caught. It's this is the fight game. It's high level people. We like everybody right here is like top 10 guys of the world. So you need to watch out for everything, every opportunity, and there is more than one way I will be able to finish that fight.
And then like how much pressure is on you to like go out there and not only win, but just make like a big statement performance. Just kind of remind everyone that you're still like this top guy in the division.
I actually don't have any pressure. I have a lot of willingness to do it. It's for me. It's really refreshing also to be in Sweden. I changed a lot of things for that fight. I found a lot of fuel back. I'm really happy with my life right now, and I'm training really good. So it's definitely gonna be a homecoming fight for me.
And then, like, a lot of big fights are happening in the light heavyweight division. So, like, are you like you obviously have Gus and Krylov on your card. You have like Jamal Hill, Thiago Santos, like 2 weeks after you have Anthony Smith, Magomedov Live. Like, are you kind of looking at those fights as probably you fight one of those guys upcoming?
Yeah, definitely. The Hills fight is definitely interesting for me because also I've been wanting to fight him. Santos anyway is a big name in the division, and it will be nice also for me. But it's the division is actually changing a lot now.
Mm.
Jiri is the champ. Glover will be again a contender. It's a lot of new matchup to be made.
Yeah, that's actually something I want to touch on. Like, we haven't talked since a lot has happened in the division. Like, obviously, Yuri's the champ. Jan beat Rakic. Like, what do you like? Were you surprised by any of those things happening? And what do you kind of make of the top of the division now?
Yeah, Jan Rakic obviously was the disappointing how he ended.
Mhm.
But Jan was the champion previous to that fight. So yeah, it was anyway a tough matchup for Rakic. So no surprise here. And the real surprise for me was Glover and Jiri. How the fight went. It was a really crazy fight. How it ended. I meant. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of fresh matchup to be made. Now Rakic will be out for a long time, so that's disappointing, and I wish him the best. But we never know what's next.
Just two more things. Like, it's been a while for you, like, for fighting in front of fans consistently. So, like, what do you think that walkout's going to be like, and back fighting in front of like a sold out crowd in London?
It's gonna be great. Anyway, it's gonna be really amazing to fight. In front of all those guys. I'm gonna have also a lot of people coming from Switzerland and around. So it's gonna be really cool for me. But obviously, I'm gonna be probably in enemy territory. I'm fighting a Scottish guy. In the UK. So we'll see. You will see what kind of warm welcome I'm gonna get.
Just last thing, like, what is kind of the goal then for you this year? Like, I imagine like get past Paul Craig and like I know with the visa it's kind of hard to fight, so you kind of hoping maybe in October again when they do that Abu Dhabi card.
Yeah, but even better, I would love to be fighting in Paris.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
Paris will be perfect for me. The first show in Paris will be perfect. I'm gonna be there no anyway, as a guest, but I really want to be there fighting as well. So this is the goal. This is what I need to make happen. A good fight, good victory, getting my hand raised with a big knockout, and go fight in Paris after.
And I imagine the Paris crowd will be insane because all the European crowds are way better than anything we have in North America.
Yeah, I think for the first events, it's going to be really good, and the tickets also sold out really fast. For France, in the beginning, I was reading a lot of people online say, "Oh, it's too expensive for France." The price of the tickets, but it got sold out pretty fast. So it's going to be a great show there, definitely.
Well, Volkan, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Cole. I appreciate it as well.
All right, we're joined by UFC flyweight Muhammad Mokaev, who gets another fight in London. Muhammad, how's it going, man?
All good, thank you. Everything's good, thank you so much.
Yeah, big fight. Like, is this kind of when you expected to come back on this July on the London card after you had your big debut there?
Yes, it's amazing to be back to UK again. Second time this year.
Mhm.
And be on main card this time, not first out. Looking forward to it.
And your last fight, like, what do you take away from that? Like, UFC debut, like, everyone always talks about octagon jitters, and you go out there and prove that you belong and get that stoppage win over Cody Durden in less than a minute.
I didn't understand the question.
What do you take away from your debut? Because a lot of people talk about like octagon jitters, and you didn't seem to have any of that.
Yes, of course. I don't know. I don't think they talk about me like this because I had strong amateur career behind my back, undefeated record, and I don't know. It's not like I'm 2-0 going to UFC like CM Punk. You know what I mean? So people, of course, a lot of people believed in me, and I went out there and proved who didn't believe in me.
And your opponent this time around in Charles Johnson, like how familiar are you with him?
I did train with him in 2019, 2020 in Tiger Muay Thai. So he's a decent striker, not bad cardio. I mean, good cardio, but like huge gaps in ground game, in wrestling, in grappling, which you can't really learn as fast. You just have to must have 2 or 3 years at least
Mhm.
to get to that level.
With you training with him, like, do you take anything away from that, like going into the fight, or do you think that it was like 2 years ago that you can't really take a whole lot from it?
And 2 years ago, I was amateur,
Hmm.
and I was still smashing all the pros in the gym, and it doesn't matter in the gym. It doesn't matter, in the cage. I will show even better performance than in the gym.
And I know you've kind of trained all over, but like, is it the usual spot for this fight again as your last one?
The training camp.
Yeah, like, are you at the same gym you usually are? Because I know you kind of go all over.
I'm in Florida at the moment,
Y-
American top team for first time. Amazing facility, great training partners, and yeah, I'm traveling all over. I started my camp in Dagestan. First stage of the camp, I was running, doing strength condition, wrestling, and here I do a lot of like striking, grappling, and everything all together to get close to the fight, to perform better. So everywhere I feel good. Wherever I go, I feel good.
Why'd you decide to go to ATT for this one?
It's just my kids' dream come to America and
Mhm.
see and train with one of the best in the world.
And then what's it like going in the gym and seeing like all the champions and like high level fighters that are in the gym every day?
Um, it's good because you know a main guy in the gym anymore,
Mhm.
and it makes me work even harder to get to that level.
And with this fight, like, how do you think you match up against Charles?
It's a great matchup. It's grappler wrestler, striker versus just a striker.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Are takedowns going to be a big part of your game, or do you kind of want to strike with him and kind of show off your striking as well?
Yes, I'm gonna strike. I'm gonna take him down. I'm gonna finish him. I'm gonna finish him. There's level to grappling. To if I finish like guys from top 15 in flyweight division when I train with them, anything like this, and Charles Johnson is a simple guy for me.
You mentioned there you see the finish. Like, how do you see it playing out? Like, you think it's more likely you submit him, or do you kind of want to get that first UFC knockout?
hmm I believe submission.
Mhm. And then you get the win here, like 2-0 in the UFC, two finishes. Like, do you think it has to be a top 15 guy next?
UFC does give me top 15 after my did give me top 15 after my debut, but nobody from top 15 accepted this fight. They said they don't know me. Of course, they all know me. They all know
Mhm.
me, but they just not in that position to risk the spot. But it's okay. When I finish this fight, when I finish Charles Johnson, and my name will be more on the map, they will want to fight me.
Do you think that's going to be a problem? Is a lot of guys ranked higher aren't going to want to fight you just because you are such a dangerous guy?
I believe so. I believe so. I really this I have 2 years to become youngest UFC champion, and I just don't want these guys stop my dream.
Mhm.
Like if they don't want to fight, just give me spot and move back. Everyone here to fight. You cannot just get into 15 and sit and then don't accept fight and just fight somebody unranked guys. This is fighting. This is not like, I don't know. We'll see.
You mentioned it there. Like, is that the real like a goal for you then is to break John Jones's record and become the youngest champ?
I believe so. I believe I can.
Especially at flyweight too. Like, it's not as deep as other divisions where you can get a top 10 guy probably next and be only like 2-3 fights away from fighting for the belt.
I believe I'm already like 2-3 fights away from the belt. Just need to get right matchups, and we'll see. I believe I beat most of these guys. Like almost all of these guys in flyweight division. There's nothing special I can say. Like only guy special I was seeing is Cejudo and Demetrius Johnson. That's like serious guys at the flyweight division. Now I don't see anyone.
With the division, like the top of it's kind of all murky with Figueiredo being injured and like Moreno. Like, is that frustrating for you when a lot of those top guys aren't fighting because they're all just kind of waiting to get that shot?
I don't think Figueiredo will be back. I don't think he can make weight anymore. And I believe next will be Pantoja fighting for the title after this fight happens. And if he beats Pearce, and I believe he can beat Pearce, so I'm not there yet. So when I get closer to that level, I'm gonna see what they're doing. But at the moment, I have my own focus on my career, on my road.
Do you really plan to call anyone out with a win? Because I think if you finish Charles, like you're in a perfect spot to kind of call your shot to get that top 10 guy.
I'm like I said, I'm already in this spot, but if they accept the fight, that's the question. Will they accept the fight? Even like guys unranked like Jeff Molina, he doesn't want to fight. Who is 3-0 in UFC? He just called. I called him out last week. He say, someday, somehow, somewhere we'll meet. We both young, but same time he called out Cody Durden last night. You know what I mean? So clearly you can see they don't want to risk the record.
Does that like make you respect Charles even more that he's taken this fight and fighting you when no one else really wanted to?
100%. When 4 guys said no, Charles Johnson said yes. So I really respect this, and yeah, I respect this. That's his life opportunity. If he didn't take this chance, maybe he's not being UFC next 2-3 years. He would sit and wait. But if you don't risk, you don't get the opportunity. So he did the right decision.
Just 2 more things. Like, what do you think that walkout's gonna be like for you? You gonna be later on in the card? Like, now that more people know who you are, like I think you're gonna get a lot more fan love in London again.
Yes, when I was first on in London, I believe like 70% arena was packed, and like most people said they never see arena packed like this for the first fight. And I will be on main card this time. The arena will be shaking.
Are you hoping to like fight in the States pretty soon and like so then you can kind of see how it is over there? Or do you kind of like just fighting in the UK for now?
I have been offered for July 2nd international fight
Oh
week,
yeah.
but I chosen UK. It's my home crowd, and I know it's a fight night, small showdown, pay-per-view in America. So, but at the moment, while UK card, I will fight in UK. When UK cards finish, I'll go to America and take over the America.
Just last thing, like, what is the goal then for you this year? Like, you finished Charles in July, you're 2-0 in the UFC already. Like, you can probably get another 1 or 2 fights in this year.
I believe I have 2 fights this year. Another 2 fights after Charles Johnson. It's no problem for me. I used to fight 5 times a week in amateur scene, and amateur fights, nothing different, nothing. No, I don't believe it's less level than professional guys. I believe younger fighters, amateur, are more hungry than these 30 years old ones who are just not motivated anymore.
Well, Muhammad, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for doing this.
No worries, no worries. Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, we're joined by UFC featherweight Jonathan Pearce, who's got a big fight in London. Jonathan, how's it going, man?
It's doing good. Just trying to get this water here.
Yeah, obviously, big fight. Like Makwan Amirkhani, a very notable guy. Like, how excited were you when you found out this would be the guy you're fighting?
I was real excited. I caught COVID at the beginning of this, and this has been a rougher camp for me. But I think I'm still going to go out there and smash it like I always do. And I think this is a good test for me. He's a good wrestler, but I don't think he's had like the running I've had, you know. And I'm 3-1. He's 5-7 in the UFC. So
What you make of his last fight? Because he kind of saved his job with that one, getting that quick submission win.
I think that's like his go-to move. Like if he can't get you with that or a quick knockout in the first round, that's kind of like the style of fighter is. So in a way, I match up perfectly for his style because if you watch my last fight, I got caught in a submission. I've lost to Lozon in the first round. But then if you look at my style of fighting, like I grow with time and my pace gets better with time. So I think like if it goes into the second round, it's going to favor me. If the first round is going to favor him, you know. So
Is that something you and your coaches have already been working on? Is kind of like avoiding those like big shots on him because he tries to like blitz guys pretty early. Because the big knock on him is his gas tank because he kind of has that 5 minutes to go for it.
I think he got in and he got that big knockout with the knee, and then he's like missing that, you know. He's wanting to do that again, and he's caught like wrestlers doing it and stuff like that. So I know he's going to come out and try to throw power in the first round and then get me in that Darce Americana. I don't think his stand-up is as good as mine. If we're just standing there and banging, and I think that's where I have the advantage in the fight.
You're obviously a very good wrestler yourself. So do you think like you can just keep this standing and kind of pick him apart on the feet?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm probably going to go for most likely. Everything can change, you know, the day of the fight or when you get in the fight. But for me, I think like I'm just as good a wrestler as him. I just can't be shooting in and let him catch that submission on me and just watch the big knees, the big left hands, stuff like that.
Your last fight, like obviously didn't get the finish you want. It's like, is there more pressure on you to go out there and kind of finish this guy? Because I know you're someone that's always looking for that finish.
Yeah, I wasn't real happy with my last performance. Like I said, I don't think I drank enough water going into that fight after I had cut the weight. So the weight cut was good. It was just that I didn't hydrate properly. And then I really felt it after I got out of that choke. It was just like I didn't have nothing else in the gas tank after I got out of that. So I kind of like that last fight was all just heart and me just standing on my own 2 feet trying to skate with it, you know. So I think you won't ever get to see me in a position like that again. Like I didn't like that, and that's like my goal to everybody, and to go out there and show everybody that I can strike. The last guy was just a Golden Glove boxer, and he was a little bit quicker than me. So styles make fights, and weight classes make fights too.
With that last one too, like you mentioned how you don't think you like maybe rehydrated properly. Is that something you've talked to like the coaches or the PI about how to do it again?
I think us big boys for our weight class, we cut so much weight that like we're just cheating the system, you know. Like how big can you be for the weight class, you know? And it's usually guys that are shorter and got bigger muscles because they have more buoyancy in their muscles. Well, I'm more of a tall, leaner guy, so like I'm kind of pushing the envelope to go to 45. And if you're bigger than me, I don't think you're going to be able to have a gas tank at all because you're going to cut everything you got in there.
Do you think it's likely then you'll fight at 55, like sooner rather than, or like not like soon, but like in the future?
I'm gonna get that 45 belt, and then we're gonna go for 55. That's really the goal. And I've been having a good run at 45. Like this one will be 4 straight when I beat him, and I think I can pretty much ask for top 15 at that point. If not, I'll get another one in. I'll ask for top 15. So I'm not too many fights away from the top, I think. I wouldn't say I'm close, but I wouldn't say I'm far neither.
How do you kind of see this one playing out between you and Makwan then?
I see him trying to come in and give me his pressure, but I'm obviously a bigger pressure fighter than him. And I think if he's going to try to shoot in on me, he might be able to get me down, but I'm going to let him get the takedown just so I don't get caught in that choke. And I don't think he has what I have on the feet. I don't think he has the will to win like I do. And I think that's what it all boils down to. Like, are you willing to train every day as hard as I'm training for years and years and years without the opportunity in front of you? And then now that you have the opportunity in front of you, what do you do with it? So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. And I've always been a cardio king. I've always been that kid that comes to practice and works harder than everybody. So this dude's got bad problems. Like, come July 23rd, I think he's got to deal with me, and I wouldn't want to fight me. So,
and he's a guy that has never been submitted, but we've seen you submit a lot of guys. So do you think it's more likely though that you probably finish him with strikes, or is that something you kind of want to be as that first guy to submit him?
I think it'd be cool to get him with his own move, but that's saying a lot and not doing anything. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in the fight. Like I said, like a fight's a fight, but I don't think he's going to have what I have on the feet. And then when he starts wrestling with me, I'm going to kill his cardio. That's what's going to happen.
And what's it going to be like for you going out to London? Like, obviously that's right near him in Finland. Like, you're probably going to get booed. Like, but are you kind of looking forward to that?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm Western European, so a lot of my family is from there. I'm a third generation farmer, fourth generation farmer.
And what's it going to be like for you back in front of the crowd too? And like the London crowd, like they're a whole lot crazier than what we see in the States.
This is what we do it for. We do it for our fans, and if I just always did it at the Apex, it wouldn't be as fun. So you got to switch it up every now and then. I'm really excited. I've always wanted to travel and compete in wrestling. That's kind of why I started it. And I was a lot better at fighting. So now I'm just doing the same thing with fighting. I'm just traveling and just going to be an international ass whooper, you know.
Have you thought about like how the weight cut might go just because you have that long flight to London? Like everyone kind
I
of
mean,
talks
like
about.
I'm not heavy. I get myself down before like I'm like 62, 64, but I don't get super heavy when I go down. I only cut like 6 or 8 pounds 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever out from the fight. I don't try to like kill myself. The problem is once you get so far down, you tear your body so far down, does it recover in time? Uh, I've been recovering time. I just feel like that last fight, I didn't drink enough water. Like when you pull so much water off your brain, it doesn't start working the same way. And everyone's like, "Oh, you hadn't drank enough water," and you're like, "I've drank enough water. I want to eat." You know, but it's a science project, and you got to figure that rehydration process out. And the only time you ever going to practice it is when you fight. I mean, if you're cutting as much weight as I am, you're not going to just do a practice cut. I mean, I feel like that takes. If I'm going to sit here and do practice cuts, I might as well just. I don't know. I just think that tears the life out of somebody, you know, just to sit there and cut all that weight all the time. So I'm going to do it as long as I can. I don't think 55 is for a long time. I just turned 30, so I think I can stay at 45 for a while. It is a cut, but, you know, it want this to be where I'm at, you got to feel a little bit of pain, you know, you got to feel a little something.
Just a few more things. Like even though Makwan's like been on a bit of a skid, he's still a well-known guy, popular guy. So like, and you look at the guys that have beat him are kind of all near that top 15. So where do you think a win puts you, especially if you go out there and finish them?
Puts me with a new paycheck, new contract. So I'll be on a new contract, and then I'll be able to tell what I want to do with the money I'm getting paid. You know. Of course, I'd like to run right at the top, but I also got to make sure that I can afford it, you know, to do that to myself. So,
do you really plan to call anyone out, or right now is it just more worried about getting in that top 15? And once you're in it,
I mean, like I can call people out, but I've my last 2 or 3 fights, I've had people back out. So what's the point in me calling anybody out? Like, I would rather fight Marquand, the way they set it up, and I like the way the UFC did it, and I like what they're doing. I wouldn't change the matchmaking. I know that it gets the fans going like, hey, call this guy out or this guy out. But like honestly, what would it do if I call somebody out that I know I'm gonna beat or I feel like I'm better than and then I smash them? Like what did that really do for me? That didn't do anything for me. I'd rather get tested by the UFC and then match me with somebody that's random that I don't even know who it is. And the last one before this was 7 days notice. So how could I ever train for the guy, you know? So that's what I like with the UFC. They're testing me the way I like them to, and I'm not gonna go in there and be like, oh, I want number one, you know, until it's time for me to start asking for that.
Just last thing, like this is already your second fight this year. Like, what is kind of the goal then for the rest of the year?
I want to get 3 fights this year. If I get a lot of quick finishes, then I'll do 4. I want to get in a house. Not a kid no more. I want to start like doing big boy things like you know, get out of this apartment, get a house, get my debts paid, and get to where I'm gonna settle because I don't want to stay on the road forever doing this, but if I got to, I will. But I've been out here since 2018 and like I miss a lot of time with my family, so I'll probably go back home at some point and just try to get all my ducks in a row to be able to do that and spend time with my family and stuff.
Well, Jonathan, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, we're joined by UFC featherweight Charles Rosa, who's back in action and headed to London. Charles, how's it going, man?
Man, it's doing great, man. Just excited, you know, to finally get back in front of a crowd and, you know, stage. My last 6 fights were at the UFC Apex, so, you know, I felt a little bit of, like, lackluster with the energy. So, you know, whether it's good or bad energy in my end, I love the energy, so bring it. And, you know, it doesn't matter if it's if I was fighting in the, you know, parking lot or if I was fighting, you know, in the backyard of someone's house, but, you know, I get to fight in the biggest stage in the world in the UFC and millions of people tuning in on ESPN, so I'm excited.
How did this one kind of come together? Because there was a couple guys floated out there for Nathaniel. None of them kind of came together. And then I think like 5 weeks notice, it kind of came out that you were going to be stepping up and fighting him.
Yeah, man, they called, I answered. I mean, I have 13, 14 fights in the UFC, and I've never said no. So, you know, my last fight was on 2 days' notice against TJ Brown. You know, a fight I would still like to get back because, you know, I felt like with a full camp, I beat that guy. You know what I'm saying? But 2 days' notice, man, you come in there, I put a war, won the 3rd round. Man, it's a fight, you know, I want back still, but, you know what I'm saying, man? They call, I answer, man. I'm not ducking anybody. I'll fight whoever they want. And, you know, the one thing I told my manager is I said, man, I'm not fighting without a crowd again. Like, I'm not fighting back at the UFC Apex, please. Like, I just want my next fight. Like, all my fights before this pandemic happened were, you know, either fight of the night losses or they were wins, you know what I'm saying? So, like, the fans is part of my game, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a fighter. I go for the finish the whole time. I'm not just, like, boring. So, the boring fighters do better when there's no fans, but, man, the exciting ones shine extra when there's a crowd. And that's me.
And are you pretty excited to head to London? Like, it always gets rowdy out there. Like, their fans are crazy.
Yeah, man, it comes kind of full circle. My first fight ever in the UFC was actually in Stockholm, Sweden in Europe. So to be happy to come back in front of, you know, that was a fight of the night against Dennis Seaver. That was like 8 years ago. So finally it feels good to be able to come back, be the vet, be the bigger, stronger guy, you know, coming in against, you know, Nathaniel Wood, whether it's in his hometown or not, man, he's going down. So I'm excited to step back in there. And, you know, I love traveling, man. That's one of the other things. I mean, obviously I'm going there to fight. Like I said, it didn't matter if it was in the backyard, if it was in a parking lot, or where it's at now at the O2 Arena. I mean, I just love to fight, so I'm excited to be there.
And with Nathaniel, like, he's a bantamweight, hasn't fought since like October of 2020. So like, is it kind of hard to prepare for him just because he's been off for so long and he's moving up a weight class?
No, I don't think it's very hard to prepare for him. I mean, man, like, you know, I'm training over now. I train over at Sanford MMA in the morning. You know, I'm getting rounds in with the best guys on the planet every day. And, you know, before that, I was training an American top team, you know, putting rounds in with the other best. Like, I've trained with the best of the best. I know what my skill level is, and I know what I'm capable of. You know, I just feel like a little bit of luck here and there. Like a lot of the guys I fought, I lost a split decision to Yair Rodriguez in Mexico, a fight I thought I won years ago. I fought Shane Burgos in New York in his hometown. Fight I was up, 2 rounds to none on the scorecards until the ref jumped in on an early stoppage. Like, I'm competing against the best guys in the world, and and even Damon Jackson, he's on a 3 or 4 fight winning streak now, and I split him from, split his head open with 20 stitches in his head, leaking. The ref could have stopped it, but he didn't. It is what it is. It was a good fight, but in the last fight, 2 days notice to your man, this is. I'm ready, whether it's 2 days notice, but if you give me, 6 weeks to get ready for somebody, this kid's in big trouble, man. This is something back with the crowd and fans. He's coming up weight class. I just started doing my conditioning over at IHP, Institute for Human Performance in Boca with JC Santana, one of the best strength and conditioning coaches on the planet right now. Trains tons of other UFC fighters, Gilbert Burns, some of the top guys in the world. And man, like, I'm excited. I'm the biggest, strongest version of myself right now, and I'm just getting stronger and bigger and better. And the little man Nathaniel Woods coming up from 135, and he's coming with the big boys now. So we'll see if he can hang. He's going to find out July 23rd.
Do you kind of like going into other people's hometowns, like getting booed? Like, it seems like that's kind of a role you like.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I love going in. I always watch sports as a kid. I got the Boston shirt on now. I was a big Boston Bruins fan. Patriots, when they go into the enemy territory and, they're getting booed and stuff like that, but they still pull it off. Like, I think that's even more amazing, and it's something that I feed off of. Like I said, if it's good energy, negative energy, or positive energy, it's still energy, and I'm going to feed off of it. So I'm going to be excited. Hopefully the London crowd's in full effect.
How do you think you match up against Nathaniel then?
I like the matchup. I love it. I mean, he's a little guy. He's 5'6". I always notice whenever I'm sparring, like, I always do really well against shorter guys. Like, I can find my jab. It's something that I've kind of neglected to find a lot in a lot of my fights because I'm, fighting taller guys. With the strength aspect of it, like, he's not gonna be stronger than me. I mean, especially now that I'm doing this conditioning and stuff like this, strength training, skill of strength, and it's something that, it's an acquired skill and something that I've been working a lot on. So, when he shoots in and he hits, if he wants to try to take me down, whatever he wants to do, like, no one's knocking me out. You know what I'm saying? You see my chin, like, I can take the shots from anybody. So, if he wants to try to point fight me, whatever, he's gonna have to meet me at some point. He's gonna have to fight me. He can't just point fight me the whole fight and be chasing around the ring. You know what I'm saying? So, the fight's gonna get to where I want it to go at some point in the fight, and he's gonna have to show what he's made of. And if he's one of the top fighters in the planet, and a world champion level fighter, then maybe he'll be able to hang in there. But if he hasn't fought in a couple of years and he's moving up a weight class and he's not ready, it's gonna be a tough night from in front of his family. You know what I'm saying? His parents came on, and it's not gonna go his way.
Do you think that size and strength is going to play a big role? Like, he's used to fighting shorter guys at bantamweight, and like, you're a big featherweight yourself and like pretty strong. So do you think that's going to be something like he's going to realize pretty early? Is it's like a big strength difference compared to who he has fought in the past?
Yeah, I mean, he got knocked out by John Dodson, I love John Dodson. He's love watching him fight. He's a hell of a kid, but a hell of a guy. But like, man, like he's half the size of the guys that are in this featherweight division. You look at the guys like Shane Burgos, Calvin Kattar. This is a different level. There's a reason there's weight classes in the sport. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what he's thinking. Maybe he's putting on muscle. He's putting on weight. It doesn't really matter. I don't care. I never really care about the size of the opponent. But in the training rooms, there's times when you go and you train with the guys in the heavy weight class. There's a reason it's harder when in the training room because they're bigger and they're stronger. And whether you get the skill or not, man, you can ask any fighter that goes and trains with the guy that's a weight class above him. Like, there's a reason there's weight classes. You can still have a good round or two, but that there's a reason when somebody gets a hold of you and they hold you down, they squeeze or they land a big punch, you're like, man, well, like, at least he's not in my weight class. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's part of the game. But yeah, I mean, that's not really a big concern of mine, honestly, is the size thing. I think, it's more on him. I think he probably knows that I'm going to be the bigger, stronger fighter. But he just better be ready. I mean, he's used to fighting the smaller guys. Like I said, I mean, John Dodson's like a 25er, and he got knocked out by him. So it'd be interesting. I think his chin is a little suspect also.
You're like, do you feel like there's any pressure on you? Like, you never know with the UFC, like, losing 3 in a row. I don't think they'd cut you. Like, you're a fan favorite. Like, You had the 2-day notice fight. Like, is there any pressure on you though, just to kind of get back in that win column?
Yeah, man, I'm trying to win every fight. I think when you watch my fights, you see that. Like I said, my last 2 losses, the first time I ever lost 2 in a row in my 8-year UFC career. It was the first time. The last fight I took on 2 days' notice. You know what I'm saying? And that was a hell of a fight. It could have been fight of the night. Fight before that, Damon Jackson's on a 3 or 4 fight winning streak. I split his head open. One of the most exciting fights you've seen. I don't know how that was a fight of the night. There was blood covered head to toe on the mat. Friggin' biggest, bloodiest fight I've ever seen. They said it was one of the bloodiest in UFC history. So, I mean, that's on the UFC. If they want to let me go and, have me go get more money from another promotion, I mean, it is what it is. But, UFC's taken care of me for all these years. They took care of, 2 neck surgeries and things for me. So I'm super grateful for that, and that's something that, I want to be part of the UFC. I want to be part of the best promotion in the world. I want to be the best fighter in the world, and I want to be the champion of the UFC, So that's my goal, and that's what I'm doing. So, I'm going to win every fight. I try not to put the pressure. Oh, what if you win and lose? I mean, I've seen guys get cut off in wins. You know what I'm saying? Like literally in the UFC. So that's not something that I'm really worried about. I'm just worried about going in there and doing what I'm doing. I mean, I have my eyes on I'm not, I'm fight one fight at a time, but I'm in this to be the best. So you know what I'm saying? Like and I see guys like that motivate me, like Charles Oliveira, Brandon Moreno, guys, George Masvidal, guys that, their careers up and down. They win one, lose one, win one, lose one, and then they get this big jump, boom, and they win a couple fights in a row to string 2 or 3 wins together. And you look at Brandon Moreno, world champion after being cut from the UFC. You look at George Masvidal, multimillionaire after, being, losing a couple fights in a row. Charles Oliveira, champion of the world, after, winning one, losing one for multiple years in the UFC. So these guys are just extra motivation, but even if they never did it before, I would still be trying to do it. So either way, man, I'm excited to go in there and show my skills, and I'm working hard, best shape of my life right now. Still got a month out, and my weight's the best it's ever been. I'm the strongest I've ever been, and my skills are there, so I'm excited to shine.
Do you think you'll fight even better with the crowd? Like, it seems like you're a guy that kind of thrives with the audience going.
I mean, you tell me. What do you think? I mean, you've watched enough of my fights. You look, I have the most all-time wins in Boston, the Boston Garden, which is the most electric arenas in the world. They got the Celtics and the Bruins banners hanging from the banner, sold-out arena. All 3 times I won, I got the most all-time wins above Conor McGregor at the Boston Garden, and those are all with sold-out arenas. So, I mean, you look at it right there. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. I mean, it's what it is. And then all my fights before that, before the pandemic happened, were all fight of the night. Every fight I lost before the pandemic was, if I lost, it was fight of the night. So, I mean, I think the facts speak for themselves. I don't know what you think.
How do you kind of see this one playing out then?
Oh, I see. I'm smashing this kid's face in from the second it starts to the end. I mean, I think I'm going to punch his face through the mat, punch his face through the cage, and I'm going to go there in front of his fans and his friends and his family. There's a lot of pressure on him. I know what it's like fighting in my hometown in Boston. All your friends, all your family, everybody you went to high school with, every person is there, and there's a lot of pressure for you to do good. But man, it's also, it can be real embarrassing if he gets knocked out. So, you got to keep his chin tucked and be ready for war. And then, best case scenario for him, he's able to survive the 15 minutes against me, and he gets a fight of the night bonus for surviving. But that's best case scenario for him.
You go out there and beat him. Like, where do you think that puts you? Because Nathaniel's a guy that's been hyped up for a while, and like the UK fans have always talked as him as like this top 10 guy in the future.
Yeah, man, it just puts me right back where I want to be on winning streak. I want to put together a couple wins. I've had some real close fights against the top 10 guys in my division right now. I fought most of them. Shane Burgos, Yair Rodriguez, Bryce Mitchell. These are all guys that I know I'm capable of beating. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, split decision loss to Yair Rodriguez in Mexico. A fight I was up 2 rounds. To 2 rounds against Shane Burgos. I won the first 2 rounds on the scorecards. And then, the ref jumped in kind of early. I was in New York, a little bit suspect. I was, a little annoyed with it. And, it just, and then even Damon Jackson, who's probably climbing up, he's probably top 15 in the world. I split his head open, leaking from head to the ground with blood. So, I know what I'm capable of in the division. It's just going to have to take a little bit of luck, too, sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like, these fights are so close sometimes, and you put everything into it. It doesn't come up short. But as long as I know that I did everything I can do, I work as hard as I can, and I keep getting up, whether it's you win or a loss, and you keep grinding. Eventually, the string of luck is going to be my way, and then hopefully all the way to an eventual world title. Because I know the skills are there. I'm training with the best guys in the world, and I know what I'm capable of and where my skill level's at, and it's the top.
Just last thing, like, what's kind of the goal then for the rest of this year? Like, I know you're a guy that likes to be as active as possible.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm repping the Boston shirt right now. I'm hoping they go back to Boston in October. I mean, that's the word on the street, but who knows what's going to happen. So, the way I see it playing out in my head, I go out there, I knock out Nathaniel Wood in his hometown in London, get a quick turnaround in October, continue my, record of most all-time wins in Boston and make it 4, and start my first 2-fight winning streak in the UFC, and then, hopefully a main event after that, a big fight. So I'm just going to keep climbing, keep winning these fights, and keep doing what I do best, and that's fighting. And, the fans continue to enjoy what I'm doing, win, lose, or draw, I'm going in and putting 100% effort. So, I mean, that's really all I can do on my end is just train the hardest I can, eat the best I can, do everything right, and then hope for the best result, So I think the luck and the way things go are going to turn in my favor, and it's that time for the title run.
Well, that shirt is a good one. Like, you get those made up for every fight, or do you just kind of that shirt? Like, do you get it made up for every fight, or is it just like one you had made up for just yourself?
I'll say that one more time.
Your shirt, like, is that something you do every fight? Like, get a new shirt made up?
Yeah, most of them I do. Mostly the ones in Boston because, then I don't have anything set up online where I can sell them on stuff. So the ones, all my Boston fights, I always have fresh, new shirts. But this one's in London, so it's going to be hard to get some new ones made in time since it was just a couple weeks ago I found out. But I'm always getting fresh. I'm always making new Rosa t-shirts and stuff like that. My little brother actually, Lucas Rosa, Lucas the King of Monsters Rosa, that's his nickname. We just granted him. He just made some cool shirts, so I'm kind of letting him collect some of the dough from the shirts, and it all goes to a good cause, to Chucky's Fight charity and stuff. And it says Team Rosa on them, so I'm still Team Rosa, and that's my little bro. So it's kind of letting him take care of that now. But you better believe if the fight goes back to Boston, I'm gonna have to make a new one. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Charles, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for doing this.
I appreciate you, Cole.
Yeah, have a good one. All right, we're joined by UFC lightweight now, Kyle Nelson. Kyle, how's it going, man?
It's going great.
Obviously been off for a while. Like, I think we did an interview 8-9 months ago, someone just kind of catching up, and how you said it was going to be a lightweight move. Like, can you kind of take me through these past almost 2 years, what kind of this layoff's been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I knew after my last fight that the plan was to move up to 155. I think the majority of the kind of my issues with my fights at featherweight have come from kind of an excessive weight cut. Skill-wise, I've always felt great. Striking, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, all that with all my opponents that I've fought at 145. It was just, I think kind of crash dieting a little bit too much. Not getting a ton of notice to make 145, and then kind of crashing down, and then I'd make weight, but I don't think I ever fully recovered in time for the fight. And then that's kind of what we saw after the first round, or halfway through the second, we started to see some of that kind of crash dieting / malnourishment kind of catch up to me. But it was kind of the only option to get down to weight on time with the the kind of notice that I had at the time. So 155 now. Again, I've been planning on this for 2 years, so I've been able to build up. I mean, I was probably walking at an average 155 or weight anyways. But yeah, now I'm super comfortable in this weight and excited to be competing.
And then this fight, how much notice did you get? Because it didn't seem like you got a whole bunch. I kind of found out not too long ago that you were going out to London fighting Jai.
Yeah, so this one, I believe we got 6 weeks, maybe a little less. But yeah, I mean, compared to some other fights, this was a ton of notice. Like my last fight against Billy, I can't remember what that was on, but it was, 3 weeks, maybe something like that. And then I had accepted a fight before that against Sean Woodson that again was on something like 3 weeks notice. So yeah, again, the majority of my fights kind of come up, less than a month. notice, and then to cut down to 145 was just extremely difficult. So 155 is not so bad. Even I mean, this is probably one of the most the longest notices we've gotten, but 155 is a much easier cut for me, and I think I'll be able to perform better at it.
And then with Jai Herbert, like how familiar are you with him? Like you guys are both kind of in similar spots, like 1 and 3, and you have a similar opponent, Kama Worthy. Like I know you beat him on the regional scenes. Like how much did you know about him when he got the offer?
So I didn't quite know a whole lot about him when I got the offer. Once I went back and watched his fights, then I kind of remembered him watching those fights live, especially against this fight against Kama Worthy, because again, being one of my former opponents, I kind of kept an eye on Kama with his UFC career, and yeah, I mean, I've seen all of Jai's fights now. He's got good striking. He's got okay wrestling defense, okay jiu-jitsu defense. But again, I don't really see an area where he outperforms me. Now that I'm going to be at 155 and I'm going to have the cardio and all that, and a proper weight cut to last 3 rounds, I'm going to be able to utilize all my skills for the entirety of the fight. So if it goes 3 rounds, I'm going to be able to beat him. Whether it's striking, wrestling, grappling. But yeah, I think where he's best at is striking, and I think it's going to be a big shock to him when I come in and I start out striking him.
Well, that's something I want to touch on is not even just the cardio, but like how much better do you think you are going to be like cardio is like with that, but now training camp isn't just worried about dieting, getting down weight, and you can actually work on like improving your game.
Yeah, so we get to work on improving my game. I'm eating a lot more food now, so I'm staying fueled, and just the power. I have so much more power now with my strikes, with my wrestling. Before, when I was cutting down to 145, we'd have to, we'd cut the fat. We'd get my body weight down to whatever 6% body fat, but then we have to start cutting into muscle just in order to physically make it down to the 145 pound limit. Whereas this time around, we don't need to do that. My muscle mass is perfect. As far as like the limit of how much muscle I can carry for the 155 pound weight division. So yeah, I think everything's going to go a lot smoother this time, and it's going to show in the fight.
And if I'm not mistaken, you're on a new deal as well for this one, right?
Yeah. So I signed a 4-fight contract with the UFC.
What's that like? Just because you never know with the UFC and contracts, and like you hadn't fought in a while, and for them to kind of give you a new one, like was that a surprise to you?
We were kind of expecting it after my last fight. We had spoken with them, and they said they planned to give me another fight. So whether it was going to be like a 1-fight deal or a 4-fight deal, we weren't sure, but we did kind of expect to come back in. But then, it was like a year and a half, and we'd be in touch a little bit, but we didn't really get any offers on fights or anything. So that, well, maybe it's time to, take a step back, go back to the regional scene, and, just try and stay busy and get some fights. And that's when the UFC got a hold of me and said they had somebody for me for London.
And then obviously fighting a Brit in London, like what are you kind of expecting the crowd to be like? Obviously they're rowdy. Like I'm sure you've watched the other UFC London cards. Like they have one of the more crazier fan bases. Like, is that something you've had to like get ready for? Is being booed like that by that many people?
No, I fought Polo Reyes in Mexico,
Right.
and you're not. I mean, you're gonna like as far as like combat fans. I think like Mexico is one of the biggest ones, and then obviously England is big too. But I don't think the Mexicans can get pretty extreme too. So I don't think it's going to be any worse than that. And I was able to go in there and finish Polo Reyes and win over the Mexican crowd, and that's what I plan to do in England.
How do you kind of see this one playing out then?
I think it's going to rely a lot on what Jaya wants to do. Like, I mean, I'm happy to stand and strike with him. If he's going to, be on his bike and moving a lot, he'll probably last a little bit longer. But if he wants to come in and go toe to toe, then he's definitely going to sleep early. So we'll see what he wants to do. But either way, I'm probably going to end up finishing before the end of the third.
Do you put any pressure on you to like go out there and have like a statement performance just because you haven't fought in a while and like the sport better than most people, where it's like kind of what have you done for me lately sport where people seem to forget about a lot of people pretty quickly? Like, is there any pressure to kind of like remind everyone that you're still here?
No, there isn't really any pressure. I know when I go in there, I'm gonna remind them. Like I don't need to put any extra pressure on myself because I know what I can do. I know what I'm gonna do. So I mean, the work is gonna speak for itself, and anyone that's forgotten about me at this point, they're gonna get reminded pretty quickly. How exciting of a fighter I am, and then yeah, then they'll be tuning in for my next fight for sure.
You get your hand raised here. Like, are you hoping to get at least one more in this year and kind of make up for some lost time?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, at this 155-pound weight class, I can make weight, all the time. We've got it down to, again, we had it as science for 145. I was just a little too big. So now we're just going to transfer all that knowledge to 155 and I can make it, super easy. And I don't think I'm not going to be recovering from the weight cut as much as I was at 145. So I think we can really start, rattling off some fights.
And then with going with to London as well, like I know there's a time change, but like I'm like near Toronto too, so it's just gonna be like probably noon, 1 o'clock. You're probably gonna fight out here. So like, are you even gonna try to change your time, or you're just gonna stay on like the Eastern time zone?
So we're gonna be working. I'm working with the Sport Lab, and yeah, we're gonna alter my time a little bit. Get my sleep and everything right. Just to make sure that we're super dialed in for this fight. We don't want to leave any aspect that we can, take advantage of and improve upon. We're gonna do that.
And just last thing, like, what is kind of the goal then for you this year?
Yeah, so we'll win in July. Hopefully another 2 months later, I'll fight again. Another 2 months later, I'll fight again, and just kind of keep going like that. As long as I don't get any injuries or anything, I want to keep going and start climbing the lightweight ranks.
Well, Kyle, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thanks a lot.